Two apartments, same city, same neighborhood, similar rent. The first belongs to someone earning $95,000 a year. Walk inside and you find a 75-inch television mounted on the wall, a leather sectional that cost $4,000, a kitchen full of appliances, most still in their original boxes, closets overflowing with clothes, many with tags still attached, a spare bedroom converted into storage for things that haven't been touched in years. This person checks their bank account with a knot in their stomach. 2 missed paychecks away from crisis. The second apartment belongs to someone earning $52,000 a year. Walk inside and you notice space. A modest couch, a reasonably sized television, a kitchen with exactly the tools that get used regularly, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is actually a bedroom. This person checks their bank account with calm confidence. 18 months of expenses saved, 20% of every paycheck invested automatically. Same neighborhood, the person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. This is not a story about income. It is a story about the hidden relationship between stuff and money and the 10 rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do, regardless of what they earn. Before the rules, there is one concept that reframes every purchase you will ever make. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is obvious, the purchase price, the number on the receipt. The second cost is what most people never calculate, and it is often larger than the first. Storage space costs money. In most urban areas, roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually in implicit rent. A treadmill with clearance space occupies about 20 square feet. That is $600 to $1,000 a year in space costs. For equipment that most people use as a clothes rack, maintenance. The industry standard for annual boat maintenance is approximately 10% of the vessel's purchase price. A $30,000 boat costs $3,000 a year just to own, even if it never leaves the driveway. Mental energy. Princeton neuroscience researchers found that visual clutter competes for neural resources and significantly reduces the brain's ability to focus. Every item you own occupies a slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, insured, worried about, and eventually disposed of. Your possessions are quietly taxing your cognitive bandwidth every day. Opportunity cost. Every dollar locked in possessions is a dollar not compounding in the market. A $15,000 home gym setup, growing at 8% annually over 15 years, becomes $47,600 in an index fund. You did not just buy a home gym, you bought a home gym. Instead of $47,600 in future wealth, add these 4 hidden costs together, and many possessions cost more to own over time than they cost to buy. The purchase price is just the entry fee. The ongoing costs run for as long as you keep the item. The purchase price is the wrong number to evaluate. Cost per use is the only honest measure of value. Before buying anything, estimate how many times you will realistically use it over the next year. Divide the total cost by that number. A $200 jacket worn twice, $100 per use. A $400 jacket worn 200 times, $2 per use. The expensive jacket is cheaper in any meaningful sense. This calculation destroys most impulse purchases immediately. A $300 kitchen gadget used twice a year, $150 per use. An extraordinarily expensive way to accomplish whatever task it performs. A $30 tool used weekly, less than 60 cents per use. A $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years, 55 cents per use. Exceptional value for something affecting your health daily. A $1,500 espresso machine used daily for 5 years, under 85 cents per use. Likely saving money versus daily coffee shop visits. The math cuts through marketing, emotion, and social pressure. It reveals what makes genuine financial sense versus what just feels compelling in the moment. Walk through your home, look at each item, ask one question: if this disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you actually buy another fondue set, replace that bread maker collecting dust, repurchase the clothes you have not worn in 18 months for most items? The answer is no. They exist through inertia, impulse purchases, obligatory gifts, remnants of past hobbies. They were never chosen. They just accumulated. These items have negative value. They cost space, mental energy, and maintenance without providing corresponding benefit. Every hour spent organizing, cleaning around, or thinking about items you would not replace is an hour spent maintaining things you do not want. The process of eliminating items that fail this test feels uncomfortable initially, then liberating. The psychological weight of owning unwanted things is substantial and surprisingly invisible. Until it is gone, rooms feel larger, decisions feel simpler, cleaning takes half the time. There is a pattern that appears constantly among high earners who have nothing to show for their income. They upgrade perfectly functional items because they are bored with them or because a newer version exists. The television works perfectly, but the new model has slightly better contrast. The phone runs flawlessly, but the new release has a marginally improved camera. The car is reliable, but the current year's model has updated styling. These upgrades feel like improvements. They are wealth destruction disguised as progress. The average American replaces their smartphone every 2 to 3 years, often while the previous device functions normally. Over 30 years, this pattern alone costs $30,000 to $50,000 in unnecessary purchases. Applied across all categories where upgrade culture operates, cars, furniture, appliances, clothing, the lifetime waste routinely exceeds $200,000. The minimalist definition of functional is strict. An item remains functional until it genuinely cannot perform its required task. Boredom is not failure. Desire for novelty is not failure. A newer alternative existing is not failure. Actual breakdown is failure. Everything else is marketing convincing you to solve problems you do not have. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is easy and saving is difficult, you will spend. If saving is easy and spending requires effort, you will save. This is not a willpower problem. It is an environmental design problem, spending friction. Remove stored credit card numbers from online retailers. Require a 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from all promotional emails. Avoid stores unless you have a specific intended purchase. Saving ease. Automatic transfers to investment accounts on every payday. Keep only small amounts in easily accessible checking. Treat savings contributions as a fixed expense, not an afterthought. Make investment contributions happen before the money is visible. Research on decision fatigue shows that willpower depletes throughout the day. Environment is constant. Someone relying on willpower to resist impulse purchases will eventually fail when they are tired, stressed, or emotional. Someone who deleted the shopping app simply cannot impulse purchase in that moment. The 24-hour rule alone eliminates approximately 70% of impulse purchase desires. Most urgency around wanting an object fades within a day if not acted on immediately. The desire was not real. The urgency was manufactured by the buying experience. This sounds extreme until you do it. Counting forces awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick one category, count every item you own in that category, write it down. The numbers consistently shock people who have never examined their consumption objectively. Most people who guess how many shirts they own are off by a factor of 3 or 4. The same holds for kitchen tools, shoes, books, and items in the average junk drawer. The count itself changes behavior. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying another feels different. You are not adding a shirt, you are making it 48. The scale becomes visible, and the absurdity becomes undeniable. Practical thresholds used by intentional minimalists: 30 total clothing items, 15 books at any given time, read and pass on or donate. 1 in, 1 out policy across all major categories. Without intentional limits, possessions expand to fill available space. With limits, each new addition requires a conscious decision about what it replaces. That friction alone dramatically reduces acquisition over time. Most purchased items follow a predictable pattern: intensive use for a short period, then rapid decline, then near-permanent storage. The excitement of newness fades. initial enthusiasm decreases. The item joins the collection of things owned but seldom touched. Testing this pattern costs almost nothing. Want to try camping? Rent equipment for 2 or 3 trips first. Interested in woodworking? Borrow tools or use a local makerspace. Thinking about a kayak? Rent several times before committing. This approach accomplishes 2 things simultaneously. First, it reveals whether the enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests fade after initial exploration. Better to discover this while renting than after purchasing equipment that occupies closet space for years. Second, it clarifies exactly what you need. First-time campers who buy before trying almost always buy too much or buy the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before committing. When you eventually purchase, you buy precisely what is needed rather than your best guess at what might be needed. American closets and garages are filled with the remnants of abandoned hobbies. Ski equipment from phases that lasted 1 season. Photography gear from imagined careers. Instruments from bands that played 3 shows. Each represents the buy first mentality, and each represents real money that could have been invested instead. No major purchase exists in isolation. Every possession connects to a supporting ecosystem of additional purchases. A $30,000 boat requires a trailer, a hitch-equipped vehicle, marina or storage fees, registration, insurance, winterization, cleaning supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. True total cost. Frequently $45,000 to $55,000 including the ecosystem. A pool requires chemical supplies, cleaning equipment, a pool cover, outdoor furniture, maintenance tools, and often landscaping to complement the installation. The pool multiplier routinely doubles the installation cost over 5 years. A home gym requires appropriate flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, ventilation improvements, and often minor renovations. A setup advertised at $5,000 commonly becomes $8,000 to $10,000 when the full ecosystem is counted. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. They know that the sticker price is not the purchase price. The multiplier also works in reverse. Powerfully, eliminating one major possession frequently eliminates an entire category of related expenses. Selling the boat removes storage fees, insurance, registration, maintenance costs, and towing requirements simultaneously. The savings extend far beyond the item's own value. Here is the trap that catches high earners most consistently. They never define what enough looks like, so they keep purchasing more without ever arriving at satisfaction. Income increases, lifestyle expands to match it. The new lifestyle becomes normal. Another income increase is required to feel progress. The cycle continues indefinitely. Studies on hedonic adaptation consistently show that people return to a stable baseline level of happiness relatively quickly after major purchases or lifestyle upgrades. The upgrade feels meaningful for weeks, occasionally months, then becomes the new normal, requiring another upgrade to feel any effect. People earning $300,000 report similar financial stress levels to people earning $80,000. When their expenses scale proportionally with income, minimalists break this cycle by defining enough before they start earning more. They decide in advance what kind of home is genuinely sufficient, what transportation actually meets their needs, what level of material comfort constitutes real satisfaction. Then they earn toward that target rather than constantly moving it. Someone who defines enough at $55,000 in annual spending and then earns $140,000 has $85,000 per year flowing directly to savings and investments. Over 20 years at 8% annual returns, that gap between income and enough becomes approximately $4.2 million. Someone earning the same $140,000 but redefining enough upward with every raise might accumulate almost nothing over the same period. Same income, opposite outcomes. The only variable is whether enough was defined and held. The conventional measure of wealth is possessions, houses, cars, visible markers of success. Minimalists use a different measure entirely. They measure wealth by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that is damaging your health? Can you take 6 months off to handle a family emergency? Can you start a business without guaranteed income? Can you retire before 65 if you want to? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? These options are true wealth. They are only available to people who have built substantial margin between their income and their expenses. Person A earns $200,000 and spends $195,000, near zero optionality, chained to their income requirement. One job loss, one health event, one relationship change, away from crisis. Person B earns $80,000 and spends $45,000, extraordinary optionality, absorbs disruptions, takes risks, makes choices based on preference rather than financial necessity. Every purchase is not just an exchange of money for an object. It is a trade of optionality for possession. The question worth asking before any significant purchase, is this item worth reducing my ability to make free choices about my own life? Sometimes the answer is yes. More often than most people realize, it is no. Most people who attempt minimalism follow the same pattern. A massive purge, a few weeks of relief, then gradual reaccumulation back to the starting point. Within 2 years, they are exactly where they began, having accomplished nothing sustainable. The purge felt productive, the reaccumulation went unnoticed. Minimalists replace the annual purge with cyclical decluttering. Weekly, a brief look at anything new coming into the home. Monthly, a focused evaluation of one specific category. Quarterly, an assessment of overall accumulation trends. This catches accumulation early, before it rebuilds to an overwhelming level. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once per year feels like a project that gets postponed. Cyclical review also builds pattern recognition. You start noticing which categories tend to grow, which emotional states trigger acquisition, which marketing tactics work on you specifically. That awareness enables prevention rather than repeated treatment. Here is the mechanism that determines financial trajectory more than income ever could. The virtuous cycle: spending less, saving more, building security, reducing emotional urge to spend, accelerating savings further. Each turn reinforces the next, the destructive cycle. Spending everything, financial insecurity; spending more as temporary emotional relief, deeper insecurity. Cycle continues until an external shock forces a breaking point. Research on the psychology of consumption consistently shows that beyond a baseline of genuine security and comfort, additional purchases contribute minimally to life satisfaction. Yet most people spend as if happiness scales linearly with spending. It does not. The insecurity that drives compulsive consumption is not solved by more consumption. It is solved by building actual financial strength. Address the underlying insecurity through saved capital and growing investments, and the compulsion to spend frequently dissolves on its own. This is why the person in the second apartment is not sacrificing anything meaningful. They found that owning less does not mean living worse. It means living deliberately, and deliberate living creates the financial margin that most high earners, despite their income, never experience. This week, walk through your home with the replacement test. Identify 10 items you would not spend money to replace if they disappeared. Remove them. Notice how it feels. This month, implement the 24-hour rule for all non-essential purchases. Track how many purchase desires survive the waiting period. The data will tell you more about your spending patterns than any budget spreadsheet. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories: clothing, kitchen tools, and entertainment or media. Set a maximum threshold for each based on what you actually use. Write down your definition of enough across major spending categories. Refer to it when temptation arises. The financial transformation compounds over time. Someone who applies these rules consistently for 5 years accumulates substantially less and saves substantially more. The gap between their lifestyle and their income creates wealth that cannot be built any other way. The apartment at the beginning of this video, the one belonging to the person earning $52,000 with 18 months of savings, that is what these rules look like, applied consistently over time. The other apartment, the one belonging to the person earning $95,000 who is 2 paychecks from crisis, is what it looks like to never question the assumption that more stuff equals a better life. Both outcomes are available, regardless of what you currently earn. The only question is whether you want to own your possessions, or whether you are comfortable with your possessions owning you.